grade. This is Mrs. Haney. Today I want to talk about how to multiply mixed numbers. So let's take a look at 3.5 times 2 and 2/3. Now, if you notice my steps, step 1 is to turn the mixed numbers into improper fractions. So we actually cannot multiply with our mixed numbers the way they are right now. So I need you to think back to when we learned about the mad cartwheel, which helped us turn a mixed number into an improper fraction. If you're forgetting those steps, take a look back at the video that's labeled mad cartwheel. But for right now, I'll go back through the steps. So first we start by multiplying the denominator times the whole number. 2 times 3 is 6. Then we add 6 onto the numerator. 6 plus 1 is 7. That gives us our new numerator of 7, and we keep our old denominator of 2. So 3.5 is equivalent to 7 over 2. Now I do the same with 2 and 2/3. I multiply the denominator times the whole number. 3 times 2 is 6. I add 6 onto the numerator. 6 plus 2 is 8. And then I keep my denominator of 3. Now my fractions are set up, and I'm ready to follow the steps that I already know, which is multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and simplify. So 7 times 8 gives me 56, and 2 times 3 equals 6. If you notice, 56 over 6 is an improper fraction, and I definitely need to do the steps to correct that. So I'm going to go ahead and divide 56 divided by 6. Okay, 6 cannot go into 5, but it can go into 56, and that would be 9 times. 6 times 9 is 54, and when I subtract, I have a remainder of 2. 2 becomes my numerator. I keep 6 as my denominator. Now I have to check if that fraction is in simplest form. It's not. I need to go ahead and divide again by 2 over 2. Keep my whole number of 9, that hasn't changed. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I'm left with 9 and 1/3. Now, I also want you to notice that when you're multiplying mixed numbers, there is a way to help check your work, and that would be to estimate both of these fractions and get an approximate answer. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. If I have 3.5 times 2 and 2/3. If I drop the fractions right now and keep it as 3 times 2, 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, 6 is somewhat close to 9 1/3, but let's double check. Now I could round up 3.5. I'm going to round that up to 4. 2 and 2/3 would round up to 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Now I need to think about the halfway point between 6 and 12. If I set those up on a number line and had 6 here and 12 on the other end, I need to find what the halfway point between that would be. So here's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. If you notice, 9 is actually our halfway point between 6 and 12, and look at that. When we multiplied our mixed numbers, we got 9 and 1/3. So is our answer correct? Yes. After we've rounded and got 2 approximate answers, we know our answer needs to be somewhere between 6 and 12, and we ended up with 9 and 1/3. Let's try one more just to be sure of the steps. Okay, let's start with 2 and 2/5 times 1 and 3/4. So step 1 is to turn our mixed numbers into improper fractions, and I'm going to go through those steps again quickly. So 5 times 2 is 10, and 10 plus 2 is 12. So I have 12/5. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. Keep the denominator of 4. We're going to end up with a pretty large number here, so let's move off to the side and double check our multiplication. We are multiplying 12 times 7 7 times 2 is 14. I write the 4, carry the 1. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 84. So now I've ended up with 84 as a numerator, and 5 times 4 is 20 as my denominator. Again, an improper fraction. I need to fix that. I need to do the division. So I'll divide 84 divided by 20. So let's think, how can we get close to 84? I'm going to go ahead and guess that we should do 20 times 4, but let's double check that. So 4 times 0 is 0, and 4 times 2 is 8. All right, so 20 times 4 is 80, and that's close to 84. So 20 times 4 is 80, subtract, get a remainder of 4. That becomes my numerator. Now I have 4 and 4/20. Well, 4/20 is not in simplest form, so I need to go ahead and simplify. I'll divide top and bottom by 4. Now I'm left with 4 and 1/5 as my final answer. Now if we go back and double check our approximate answers, 2 and 2/5, we could round up to 3. And 1 and 3/4, we could round up to 2. So that would be 3 times 2 as our approximate, and that's approximately 6. And that is very close to 4 and 1/4. Now we could also stick with 2 times 2, which is approximately 4. So our answer needs to be somewhere around 6 and 4, and we ended up with 4 and 1/5. So that would be our answer for a multiplication sentence of 2 and 2/5 times 1 and 3/4. I know that these problems are a lot more, they require a lot more steps. However, you already know these steps, you just have to put them all together and really take your time and double check that everything you do is in simplest form. So when you're done with all of your steps and you've solved your problem, go back and double check again that you have simplified your answer. That's always, I think, the trickiest step, is to make sure that your answer's in simplest form. Because if you do all the steps correctly, the last thing that you need is to simplify your fraction, and then you're done. So just take your time with these, go back and remember all of the steps that we need to take, and go back and revisit the Mad Cartwheel video that will help you with these types of problems. I hope that helps, and let me know if you have any questions.